What's up, guys? It's Justin here. It's about 9 o'clock on this beautiful California Saturday night. Today I was actually supposed to go to the bike and I was going to record a vlog for you guys, but life got in the way. I'll tell you that in a second. Let's see here. So the game right away, just like my previous videos, is a $15 sit and go. $15 sit and go triple up. So win 45 to win $30, basically. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that flop. Got a pair. Meh. Okay, so yeah, the reason why I didn't make it to the bike, a couple different reasons really, but mainly the same source. Basically, was getting ready for that big day coming up, Valentine's Day. I hope you gentlemen out there has thoroughly planned that out. Long story short, you know, it's, what did my mom used to say? She used to say, it's not in the bank until it's in the bank, something like that, but to the effect of, okay, so this is a multi-way pot. I got a weak 2 pair. No sense in trying to get aggressive here. Let's just go to showdown. And looks like I'm not good. Wait, 2 pair with, oh yeah, chop pot. 2 pair, and the kickers didn't play in that hand. Yeah, basically I asked, in today's age, everything is social media and texting, but good old-fashioned calling and using your sweet voice to ask for a date is very effective. Yeah, so without going into details, she said yes, and I got super excited, so I decided to get ready for it. So I ended up shopping, pretty much shopping, planning for dinner. Won't give the details just in case this video is up and she happens to see it before Valentine's Day. Highly doubt it, but it could happen. That is why I didn't make it to the bike. So anyways, so I was trying to load up the video editor recorder, and I was in the middle of the hand. It was like the first or second hand dealt, and I got the replayer here, so I'm going to show you what had happened. So I may miss a couple of hands. Actually, let's see what it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, I may just have to toggle between the main game and the replayer here. Let's see. Okay, so there's that, and then here's the replayer. Oops. See, I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to have to show my background there. Interesting. Okay, still learning how to vlog here. So if I want to do that, I don't know why it has to do that, but let's see. Okay, well, whatever. You guys saw a snippet of my background there. I don't think I have anything I should be hiding anyways, but just in case I do, I'll review the recording and see if I have to remove that. So anyways, early on in the tournament, and you'll get a feel of my overall strategy in tournaments, or sit and goes, one table sit and goes. It's anonymous. You never know if you're playing with the same guy you played yesterday or the same gal that you played yesterday in any given moment, because as you can see, there's no names, just numbers. Let's see what's going on here real quick. Okay, nothing spectacular. Oops, see, I did it again. I didn't do it before. Interesting. Alright, so I'm just have to wrinkle that out. So early on in the tournament, I know what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about just general strategy you can apply this to live games, but I'm speaking in terms of online play. Early on in the table, obviously you don't you can't set any patterns for any of the players because you haven't seen any hands dealt or how many hands are played. So I'm out of position here with pocket nines. Under the gun +1, under gun +2. Alright, hold on, I gotta check this. Oh, 9-3, nothing spectacular. Alright, that time I did it. I wonder what happened. So here, this is the second hand dealt. I noticed that the first hand, this guy played, he limped in, he raised, this guy limped in, and he stole the pot. But generally speaking, two-hand statistical data is pretty much irrelevant. So the way I tend to do it, you can go the opposite way. I could have easily limped raised. I do like to play pots, play the flop, turn, and river, try to get as much value as possible. So I want to say it's pretty standard for me to just go ahead and limp here. I could have elected to raise, and see what that does though is, say you had something like ace-10 or ace-4 suited, he's either going to re-raise you anyways. Hold on, I gotta play this hand. Oh, I flopped 2 pair. Alright. Have to get a handle on multitasking here, guys. Alright, he bets. It's kind of a good candidate to check raise here. Oh, I don't know what happened. Oh, I accidentally folded or something. Uh-oh. Alright, rookie mistake, I guess. So let's go back to the replay hand. I could have raised here, and he could have re-raised me, and therefore it would have been a bloated pot. No ranges could have been possibly established in the first 2 hands for him or myself. So it would have been slightly risky business if I re-raised his, if I 4-bet his 3-bet, basically. Early on in tournament, you kind of don't, oh, I would have won that hand. You kind of want to get yourself into those sticky situations. You kind of want to play some flops and see how they play before you start making moves like that. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that no matter what happens. So that's why I tend to be a lot more conservative when ranges are established. You don't even know how often they're playing a hand. So general mental strategy going into a new game is establish ranges, establish how often, actually first off, establish how often they are playing. I think that's one of the key indicators in both live and in online. How often, how frequent are they raising, how frequent are they re-raising, and what kind of lines they take with strong hands and weak hands. But until then, you're in a polarized situation. You can play conservative, you can play aggressive. But again, taking the aggressive route sometimes can work for you, and it can oftentimes backfire on you, especially in the early stages. Again, you don't want to play in bloated pots when the blinds are really low. Okay, I could justify playing that hand, but I won't. So back to this hand. So some of the intermediates out there is saying is probably trolling me right now and saying I'm making this hand way too complicated, but I'm really not. I'm establishing a routine, and that's very important. My routine may not necessarily match your routine on how to approach a new, you just sat down online or live. 6-4 offsuit. Let's go ahead and fold that. But it is very important to, I mean, you can do what you want. This is poker. You can get out of line early, you can get out of line later, you can gamble a little bit early. It's all up to you. But my style is more like, let's feel and see where we can make real educated guesses on when the bluff, when the value, when the re-raise, and when to put your chips in. So going back to what I do, so I elected to just limp in here. So I linked in here for 20. Planning to call any raise. That's not super outrageous. If someone goes all in, I'm probably not calling. My 2-pair would have been good here. Doesn't look like it. And sure enough, there's a limp and then a re-raise. But wait, Justin, you know, there's a player in the middle. Why would you ever flat here? Because say that he has pocket deuces. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that because I want to get through this hand here. Hand analysis. Because you can get yourself in trouble again. You know, if I re-raised here and he was slow playing, say aces or something like that, he could easily repop it. Then again, I'm letting hands like Jack 10, Queen Jack get in there as well. So, pros and cons to just flatting after a re-raise or a raise, a 3-bet. So, sure enough, these guys fold. I elect the flat, and my gamble pays off because now I've increase the pot size without risking too much. So there's certainly a lot of implied odds here. Implied odds meaning if your hand gets stronger, you'll get more likely to get paid off. Okay, this would be a tough pot to play. Pocket deuces, 2-pair here is kind of vulnerable. Even though I unblock flush draws because a deuce of hearts come, I'm probably pretty good here with a full house, unless he has like 5-6 or pocket 3s or pocket jacks or quad 5s. So going back to this hand, I kind of predicted this guy would call too, so we got a $270 pot here, tournament chips, and I get lucky. What's great about this flop is just based on the action. Based on the action, any one of these guys could have something like Jack 10 or 8-7 off or 8-7 suited, or you're an overpair. Like this guy is representing potentially. Could have something like Ace King suited. A bunch of things that the implied odds, if they hit their cards, for them it would be reverse implied odds, because if they hit their flush, this is going to cost them money. And we'll get into poker terminology later in another video, I promise. So some of you new fellows out there, what I learned right away is poker definitely has its own lingo, and I do have a story about that. Don't believe everything everyone says to you, because sometimes it's just untrue. I do have a story about that. It's kind of funny because I didn't know much, but just the way he explained it just seemed wrong. We'll get to that in a second. So this is a great flop. Obviously, I flop a full house, but it's a super coordinated board. So what hands beating me here? Quad 8s. This is basically it. So I'm hoping the standard play here, obviously, is to let their draws get in and get the money in on the river. So some of you guys that have played with me pretty much know what I'm going to do here. I'm checking. So I check. This guy bets. I could build a pot by raising if I think he has an 8, but if he doesn't have an 8 or a bigger draw, he might be folding. And I want to keep this guy in here as well. Let's go back to the game, just making sure I'm not missing any big hands here. Okay, oh, love this hand. Very special number for me. But yeah, I'll be folding under the gun here. So yeah, so as predicted, this guy calls. They may be floating again with a flush draw, over cards with a flush draw, straight draw, or just building a pot because they have an 8 and they think they're good. Alright, let me play my big blind here real quick. Probably going to fold to a raise. Yeah, that's a much too big raise there for me to call it 8-5 suited. Unless I got a miracle flop, something like 7-6-4. Not a good strategy to hope for those particular flops. Not the fact that, not only the infrequency of flopping a straight, but the fact that other straights can get there as well by the river. Even though it's somewhat hidden because it's 6-7 double gap suited offsuit connector. So I'm just going to fold. Let's see what the next hand is real quick. 8-9, typical fold for a small blind. So back to this hand, I elect to slow play. This may be somewhat controversial here. I can see either leading on a bet knowing that one of these guys may have a draw and will call anyways, or one of them may have an 8, or another one may have completed a straight. 7-10, unlikely given the action pre-flop, except for this guy. This guy's range is open, wider, because of his action of limping as the third player to call the 3-bet. This guy, I feel like, was just raising air and hoping for an ace. Next best card here would have been an ace offsuit, or maybe even a king of diamonds with a redraw. So a lot of hands got there, so there's still no reason for me to bet out unless I had an inkling that these two may be still on a flush draw and they're willing to pay for it. But I didn't think so in the moment. Okay, so again I check, knowing that they're either going to bluff or bet their 8 or bet their draw that they got there. And this is one of the evil things about playing small pocket pairs, not my pair, but say that they floated and they hit their miracle 6 and they have pocket 6s, they get a smaller full house, and I'm definitely going to get paid. So yeah, he bets out really small. It's a good bet. I could have checked raised him there just to build the pot a little more, but I still wanted to see what this guy does. I didn't want to leave him out of there. I'm pretty sure I have the effective nuts. There's not a whole lot of indication here that either player has pocket 8s. So this guy folds. In retrospect, I guess I could have raised here to represent a draw. That could have been a likely option. At this point, I was pretty sure that he had an 8. So I could have raised here, but it doesn't really matter, because since I had decided at this point that he had a made hand such as an 8x or a straight already, he's probably not folding to a whole lot of rivers except for a diamond. I have to really work on my multitasking here. So the 3 comes and I just go ahead and jam. So why would I do that? I overbet jam. So this is part of the balance play of overbet bluffing a pot. So you can get players to fold a made hand versus having a made hand and getting full value for it. That would be balanced, right? Let's just check out the next hand real quick. Pocket 5s, yes, I'm playing like a nit, I'm holding a pair because I want to explain this hand. So I went ahead and jammed there because it looks like an overbet bluff. It looks like I'm trying to, might have an 8 and I'm trying to get full value for an 8, knowing that he has an 8 and hoping that he folds a smaller 8. Or 8 with a weaker kicker. A lot of different reasons to go ahead and overbet jam here. The only time he would be folding if he actually had a brick and he didn't actually have anything, he was just betting his draw the entire way. So if I checked it, he would check it back if he missed his draw anyway, right? So might as well go for huge value here. Because even though the straight got there and there's a busted flush draw, most players are going to pay you off with trips. They're not thinking, oh, he got lucky, he got a 6. They're not thinking, oh, I flopped a full house. If they have an 8 in this situation, they're most likely calling it off. And factor in that, like I said, if you're balanced, you're also bluffing in this spot without a made hand and on your missed draws. So that incentivizes him to call. You guys might want to replay that and see if that makes any sense to you. It makes sense to me, but let's see here. Next hand, por favor. Alright, D7, best hand in poker. I'm going to fold it. So I did gamble in that way. But if you listen to the logic of how I played that hand, the only minor thing I could have done differently and I didn't notice it in gameplay, was that he down bet the turn really small, something like 20% of the pot, and I didn't realize it at the time. I could have bet for I could have re-raised him there, because at that point I was pretty sure he had a made hand, something like a straight or an 8, and could have built the pot earlier. But again, I'm jamming the rivers. I'm jamming all rivers, and he's most likely going to call it off anyways if he has a straight or an 8. So, key point to take away here is that was my entire line of thinking during the hand there. This is really annoying. I think in the future I'm going to try to blank out my desktop, have a blank screen so I can have 2 screens up at one time, so I can pay attention to the game and do hand analysis. Again, guys, this is a newbie vlogger over here, so I'm still learning the ropes. King Jack. I really should be playing and paying attention to the hand, but I really just want to preach right now, basically. And I was about 80-90% sure he was going to call it off, because I was that sure that he had that big of a hand to call it off. So point number 2 here is don't be a donkey. Don't be the guy with an 8, especially 8s that don't unblock anything else. If he had something like 8-7, 8-7 is a better calling hand than ace-8, even though because what am I jamming here other than having a full house? I'm probably going to jam here for full value here with 10-7, pocket 6s, or hands that could call 8 or 7-5. I was trying to make up a straight here. Making sure I can still know what a straight is. I would have had a full house, probably good here. Let's see what happens. Okay, we'll never know. Next hand, alright, Queen 7. So far I've got all hands I could fold, so I can talk about this hand. So those are the reasons. Those are some of the traps if you have a big hand like 8x. Remember, it's probably better to call off if you think the player is bluffing. If you think I'm bluffing here with 8-7, then ace-8. It's a tough concept. This is actually an advanced concept. I know a lot of players that probably wouldn't understand that have been playing this game for years. But I unblock straights with 8-7 than I do with ace-9. So it's better to call it off with 8-7 because I block straights than ace-8. Even though if I happen to have ace-8, he's still beat. But if he actually had 8-7, you could justify calling it off with an 8. Because it makes it less likely that I have a straight. I'm going to review this entire video, make sure I explained that correctly. And even if I didn't, I think with enough inspection of what I've talked about, you'll see what I'm saying. But I can't reiterate that point because it took me the longest time for common situations such as this to realize that line of reasoning. Sometimes it's like, why would it be better to call it off with a weaker hand than a stronger kicker in this particular spot or spots like this? And that is why. But going back to being a complete beginner, again, I want to bring people into the industry. You'll get familiar with those situations because when money's on the line, you really have to start. And if you start off losing for a year or two, then it's these big moments here in cash games in particular, not necessarily tournaments, in cash games in particular, that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars if you don't correctly, as Alec Turley would say, funnel their hand ranges. So it's somewhat an advanced concept. Okay, so Queen 9, so that's gone, he's gone. Alright, moving along, guys. King 7, probably just going to have to fold this one. And you know what I think I'm going to do? After this sit and go, I'm going to go back and re-explain that whole thing, because even though it's more of intermediate advanced concept to digest as far as the line there, I think, again, some of the things I should have learned earlier on and might have saved me a year or two, or 2 to 3 years of losing in those spots. This particular situation, and situations that are very similar about unblocking hands, would have saved me hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, easy. It's just those spots where you hear inexperienced players or players that have been playing a long time that are break-even players say, "Oh, how do you expect me to fold trips there in that spot? How can I fold that?" You know, when you start hearing statements like that, just verbal cues, and you know, you don't argue with them. You just, yeah, that's a tough spot, dude. You know, I think a lot of people would have called that off. You just shrug it off, and you think about their hand later and see if they were actually correct to call there. And like I say, I've made some great hero folds in my time. I've folded, not that often, but I've folded full houses before. Yeah. You get these genius moments where you just know to fold it. Again, you know, your subconscious is very powerful because your subconscious never loses any memories, right? Your conscious mind is the one that doesn't remember everything, but your subconscious mind definitely guides you in tough moments. So if you've trained your subconscious mind to call off trip eights in those situations, then when it comes up again, you're going to make the wrong decision. I could have called there. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I was thinking I wasn't going to hit any of it. That's why. Now, just playing a little tight here because there's been a lot of pre-flop action here. Deuce, yeah. Let's go ahead and bluff the deuces with an ace, with every card over the board there, and the bet sizing didn't make any sense whatsoever to do that. It's a very easy call with ace king in that situation, dry board with ace high, because you're never jamming there with a set. You're never jamming there with two pair. They're more likely just going to value bet there. So. Well, you know what? I can do that hand analysis right after this game. This game seems like it's moving along. How long has it been? 28 minutes. Queens versus aces. Okay. Queens is drawing dead after the turn there. Yeah, I think this game is going to last less than an hour. Let's check my text messages there. I need a pass, dude. Don't raise me. Damn it. Oops. I'm going to have to bleep that out. Another mental note, online play, in my opinion, takes far more discipline than live play. Far more discipline. I mean, think about it. If you get in a bad mood, or, you know, you get unlucky and it puts you on tilt, there is absolutely no social cues, no guard, social guard to calm you down. I mean, let's go ahead and fold this. Whereas if you're in the casino, you maintain a certain etiquette because, you know, you're kind of under pressure just to, well, behave and not get super emotional. But when you're home and alone and you get unlucky or a bad beat or you lose a lot of money in a hand, it's very easy to just want to punch your screen, or I have a glass desk, so I would never want to get mad and smash my glass desk. But I've definitely experienced a little bit of tilt in online play. Just, you know, no matter how experienced you get, it happens. I think I should have folded this one, please. Fold or flat, fold or flat, fold or flat. Okay. Just gonna have to put big here. This is a tough one. I didn't play it like he had a king, that's the problem. Alright. Couldn't pull the trigger there, guys. My check back looked weak on the turn. I took advantage of it. I wasn't that certain that he didn't have a king. That was the issue there. But he's been playing it rather aggressively. Alright, so now I'm in fourth. Okay, so let's see, let's not get our head in a swivel. I lost 25% of my stack there or more. Okay, got plenty of time. 1, 2, 9 minutes. King 10, ace 9. Jeez. Now I feel like I made a bad fold there. Don't do that. Don't assume that hand had anything to do with the hand that he was in, but I feel like I was right. I feel like he didn't actually have a king there, but it looked like more a misdraw. He didn't have a deuce for sure, but in that hand. Yeesh. Last right now. First place loser at this point. Let's check the messages here. What a day, guys. What a day. It's just one of those days where you feel like you didn't do a whole lot, but so much has happened. Yeah, one of those days. They make a lot of money, that's for sure. If anything, I spent a lot of money. And that's one of the advantages of playing poker too. It definitely relieves a lot of, once you get your win rate to a point where you're profitable, you definitely feel a lot more free, for sure. Sometimes I don't even think about my full-time job being as my income. No, it is income. What am I trying to say here? It's there to pay your bills, and then, of course, you should be. Man, what is this guy playing over here? I definitely feel like I need a double up, at least. This guy's a wild player. I'm gonna have to get aggro here in a second. Not with 5, but see, he's playing every hand. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier, the very beginning of the. I didn't know at the time that he was this loose and playing so wide, playing so many hands. When you're playing a lot of hands, your range is most likely wide. Or he's just getting lucky. But he's not getting lucky, he's not winning either. So, I feel like I should have called him off. So, what I was saying earlier, yeah, I guess to a point where, yeah, you make your money during your 9 to 5, but if you're profitable on the weekends, then anything that you're Ace 10, Ace 7, G's. Thank you. Then anything you're spending is doesn't feel very impactful, I guess. And we'll get into bankroll management. I think a vast majority of players don't do what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to have separate roles, if you will. A life role. I keep referencing it as a life role, but a life role versus a bank role. And the reason why really that you want to do it, it's easier to keep track. It's easier to keep track of reality. If you have a bankroll and a life roll, and your bankroll is constantly going to zero, and you're constantly pulling from your life roll, then reality should set in and say, quit playing or get better. How much time do I have? 3 minutes to the next level. Too soon. 9, 10. Offset. I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now. Visa is a very active table, so it's hard to pick a spot to raise and hope that everyone folds with a weak hand. Therefore, you kind of have to be patient. The name of the game, I guess. So let me know in the comments what you think of bankroll versus life roll, if they should be separate. Because I know when I first started playing, there was no I didn't distinguish between the two. It all went together. Ace 9. Alright. Boom. Jack 3 offsets. Alright, so tomorrow so much what I want to do. I want to play poker. I got my new air fryer today. It's supposed to be awesome. There's two different brands I was going for. One had higher reviews on Amazon, but the other one had higher, better reviews on YouTube. So I went with the YouTube one just because it was slightly cheaper, more affordable. But we'll see. So the money I spent earlier. I was talking about it was groceries, groceries and shopping at Target. 87. Okay. All right. I need some cards. I need some love over here, guys. Okay. This guy's he's trying to time out. Okay, so one of the annoying things online is playing the timing game. And that goes for cash games too, where players deliberately just let their timer go all the way down. And in tournaments, since the pressure is up from the clock, and if you have a big stack or even above average stack, you can milk the clock and force the shorter stacks to play. Not very good etiquette to do that, but I don't know very many online players that have not done that. I personally have done that, especially in bigger tournaments where your final two tables in a big tournament and you see like the next money jump is $400. Come on, just bust out the smaller players, the short stack players. This guy's on a roll up there, man. I'm just folding every hand. I hope this guy gets that nailed. Six. Okay, so have I had any premium hands other than the pocket nines? I don't think I have. Everything else has just been folds. I'm talking about that one hand. So I want to say this is technically incorrect to say, but the fact that I haven't gotten any good hands means the good hands are coming. But if you've taken any statistics classes, you know that that's not true. The probability starts all over again on the very next hand. But at least psychologically, it's true. Oh, jeez. Linked-in pot. You can bluff here with king high and be okay, you know. But I just don't have. I mean, what do I have? Take a stab at it, guys. No, I got an 8. Alright, got one through. When you don't hit hands, you're gonna have to bluff. Ace 10, alright. So happy to see ace 10. Unless this guy raises, I'm gonna have to just. That's why. That's what's up. That's what's up. Raise it, guys? Should I raise it? No. Okay. This looks like number 2 and 3 are tight. I'm third right now, but hit me. Alright, so I got away with 2 bluffs. How often should you be bluffing? As often as you can get away with it. The good thing about a table that's super live like this and aggressive is that the game tends to be shorter, and that would be advantageous to play tight because, you know, the fish will knock themselves out. No premium hands, 45 minutes. What is that? That's equivalent to almost 2 hours of play, I want to say. Twice as many hands. Come on, someone call him. He just turned up the notch a little bit there. His foot down. Alright guys, long day. Yes. Gotta love it when you get a free pass. Probably went to use the restroom and didn't get back in time or something. I don't know, it was an insta-fall right there. Makes you wonder what they're doing on the other side there. Are they busy doing something else and they're just insta-folding? Yeah, he's insta-folding over here, so. Alright. I've been super annoying at work as of late. But I've been in their spot. Have you ever guys been in that spot where someone is just extremely happy for a long period of time and their happiness is a little annoying? It might be a reflection on your current state of affairs, but say that you're having a bad day and someone's talking about their happiness. I think I'm that guy now. I'm just gonna have to see the flop. No choice there. Alright. This is where I put my thinking face on. Check. Yeah, I'm just gonna check there. Let's lay the pressure on. I'm just gonna fall. 6-3. Jesus. Jeez Louise. It's 440. Get into it. Put it all in, buddy. All in. He would have let out there. That's probably going to go back forward unless he has a king. Come on, come on. Sometimes you play so good you lose anyways, right? Not the best spots, not the best spots. This guy's chip stack is getting way up there. You can just milk the clock if you wanted to. I thought for sure this game would be over with right now. Call. variance rears its ugly head. It says, yes, you've been playing for almost an hour. Oh, we won't give you cards. Okay, now you gotta get lucky and hope that they fold when you have crappy cards. This is getting sticky. Come on, you two. Come on, you two. There you go. Ace 10. Call. No. Alright, next level is 150, 300. Not liking that. I feel like 8 and 7 have something going on there. He's been giving me a pass. Alright, so another beginner mistake is, say this guy calls, is they try to see a flop in the small blind with an offsuit connector. You're risking this guy to re-raise the steal. Since you didn't raise, let's go ahead and pull that. Yeah, this is going to be a close one. It's just going to be a coin flip here at some point. Should do a cash game. Boom. Card dead. I'm human too, guys. This is very frustrating. I've only been able to talk about one hand. Every single fold I've done so far has been good folds, and I've only won with pocket nines and 2 bluffs. I knew he was going to do that. You have a feeling when people are going to do things. That for sure, I knew he was going to do that. I've been folding everything. Rightfully so, though. I don't have much of an option here. Okay, so 150, 300. He can call with a super wide range. These guys may have to be careful, but at this point, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Okay. Whatever this hand is, I'm jamming. Whatever the hand this is. Boom. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Gotta have fun somehow. All in. Oh, yeah, that's not good. Go ahead and jam. I hope you're trapping. Go ahead and jam. Nope. There we go. Open cards might call me, but alright. Good. Good choice, guys. Good choice. Lay the pressure on, Big Stack. Lay the pressure on. I feel no pressure when you don't get cards. It's only when you get cards you start to feel pressure. Common sense, right? You can't control the cards that are given to you, so don't cry about the cards like I've been doing. Just wondering why it's been an hour and you haven't had anything. 9. Okay, this is loose all in. I don't know if I had any base card suited connectors, base card suited yet, even. Ace 4 suited, nothing. Ace 5 suited, oh, okay. Let's dance. Go get it. Oh, come on. Yes! I won! Alright. The answer is going to be no, but let me see if I can get this replayer up so we can talk about this hand one more time. Okay, good. That screen should automatically go away in a second. You guys don't see my desktop, which I'll have to figure out how to do. Alright, I'm just going to recap this hand, I think. Let's start over. There was way too many interruptions. I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to take a quick break, so I'm going to pause this. Alright, so that was a split second for you guys, but that was a 5-minute break for me. Okay, so as I said earlier, I was trying to analyze this hand review during gameplay, and I was having a lot of trouble with that, toggling between the screens and interrupting thought. So let's start over. So just to recap, typically in the beginning of a sit and go, and I would establish this for tournaments, cash games, and sit and goes. Those 3 basic types. Anytime you sit down at a table, generally speaking, I kind of have a mental routine that I go through. I look at the players. Obviously this doesn't apply online, but a live play, I look at the players, see if I recognize any of them, see if some of them are notoriously aggressive, notoriously conservative, so on and so forth. But you don't have that luxury online. So what's important in all 3 game types is to establish ranges, establish how often. I always start off with ranges, but I got that backwards. You start off with how often a player is playing, then try to establish ranges based on the hands that they're showing, how they're betting, and in what positions they're doing so. So here, second hand dealt, I have pocket 9s. I've already observed that this guy, I think it was this guy, it was definitely this guy that played the first pot, this guy played a pot, this guy played a pot. Again, this is second hand. And he re-raised pre-flop and got everyone to fold. So he already has 100% VPIP, right? So I would say pocket pairs, small pocket pairs, especially at the beginning of the tournament in the sit and go, I opt for a limp call or a limp re-raise. And in this case, seeing one hand played, I opted for a limp call. Now say it was closer to the middle of the sit and go, and you know he's been playing a lot of hands, and he goes limp, raise, call, call, call. You could justify raising there, or being the pre-flop raiser and raising first. So as played, I just went ahead and limped in, and sure enough, number 6 raises. No established ranges yet, so I go ahead and call. And again, the danger here is if he's slow playing a big hand like ace king or a bigger pair, he's going to go ahead and repop it. So I do risk there a little bit, but my sentiment at the time is that he's probably just going to flat there with any hand really, but most likely if he's a decent player, suited connector, 5-4, jack 10, queen jack, offsuit, all candidates are just flat there. So, and he does call. I get a miracle flop of 9-8-8. I flop a boat. Super great hand for me because these guys could be playing overcards. One of them, in particular this one, since he's not the pre-flop raiser, could most likely have an 8. if this guy is loose, or if either player is loose, they could be playing hands like Jack 10 or 10-7 suited, or even something as loose as 8-6 suited. And my strategy here is to let them build the pot, let them bluff at it, do what they need to do. I have the effective nuts here. Pocket eights is the only hands that beat me, and straight flushes. I didn't realize that the first time right. Straight flushes could get there, but very unlikely. So I go ahead and slow play. I check to hit this guy. He goes ahead and bet. He calls. At this point, not exactly knowing what these guys have. They could be betting a 9. They could be betting on an overcard that might come on the turn of river. Could be betting a flush draw, straight draw. A lot of cards they could be betting on. I'm not really afraid of anything since I flopped a full house. Turn comes. There's another great card for me. It completes straights. 10-7 gets there. 7-5 gets there. Suited hands with a diamond in it may elect to keep, or yeah, suited hands with a diamond in it may elect to continue betting. So at this point, I'm realizing my implied odds. I hit my card, and any money that they put in there is more odds to me, right? So even if they hit their card, they get reverse odds, reverse implied odds, meaning they hit their cards even though it's a stronger hand, they're still going to lose because I have a stronger hand than that. And we'll go over poker terms in another video. So that's more or less for the intermediate to advanced players that really want to dive into what I'm thinking here. But as a beginner player, it's or any level really, this is just strategic slow playing. So at this point, if they continue to bet, they're less likely to. They could be betting on more draws and trying to get us to fold, but the fact that this guy bets so small kind of implies he may have a bigger draw, or he has a made hand like a straight and he's trying to get value for it. But I think that's a little too small for a straight. In retrospect, I think he could have bet a little larger if he indeed have a straight, a 7-10 or a 7x. So you might be continuing to bet there with the draw. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a spot where if I was pretty confident, and I am at this point, I remember my original line of thinking was that he did have an 8 or a straight. Since he bet so small, I could have built the pot. I could have checked raised and built the pot even larger. But I really wanted to keep this guy in too. But he ends up folding. I like to call, and even if I check raise him and I put him on at 8, he's most likely calling and getting his money in on the river no matter what happens here, unless he was on a diamond draw or a straight draw still. So river is a virtual blank that probably doesn't help anyone here. I go ahead and jam here strictly for balancing. Again, balancing means you're balancing your bluffs with your strong hands, you're balancing your bluffs with your value hands, and this line that I took does look like a slow played hand, or it looks like an 8, or it looks like a bluff. So I know my range looks balanced there. Since I effectively have put him on a strong hand, as strong as a straight, and my raise looks like a bluff, like a missed draw as well. Say he did have an 8 or a straight, and I bluff here and the diamond's missed, I'm going to get paid from him. Whereas if he was still on a draw, he's just going to fold anyways, right? So if I just checked or bet really small, he's probably going to fold. So, so that entire last 5 minutes that I explained this hand took me about 20 minutes earlier because I was toggling between screens. Again, I encourage you guys to rewind, review what the line of reasoning. I re-emphasize this because as a beginner player, and a lot of the advanced players out there and intermediate players already know this from experience, but it took that experience to know this, right? So as a beginner player, I would take note that even though on the surface poker looks pretty straightforward, you hit your hands or you don't, you bluff, or you get your money in when you got the goods. Yeah, really straightforward. But you gotta know when to fold them too. And I think this is my last point too. So I go ahead and jam here, and sure, it looks bluffy. And I think I misspoke earlier when I said if this guy has something like an 8-7, it's better to call it off as an 8-7 because it unblocks straights. I think I spoke incorrectly. I think it blocks straights, so it's less likely that I have a straight. So it's still better. At the end of the day, it is still better to call with 8-7 than Ace-8, even though Ace-8 is a better kicker. So. A little confusing, but I'm sure we're going to run into this situation again. And as a beginner player, I would really think about that situation and other situations that might arise that would have that same line of reasoning. Ace-8 is just, would I really be jamming here with Ace-8? Or I'm sorry, would I be calling it off with Ace-8? It's a tough spot, but in my experience playing, that's where a lot of money is lost, where you can't find that hero fold because you have such a strong hand. You get the infamous, oh, I have to call. I mean, how can I fold that? Well, there's that how can you fold that part is the part where that poker player has stopped thinking about hands that beat him. Just because you got trip 8s doesn't mean you got the best hand on the board. And clearly, trip 8s is not the best hand on the board. So again, I think it's better to call it off with 8-7 because I block straights. I don't know why I keep saying that backwards, because I block straights than Ace-8. So, all right. I know I talked really fast there, and hopefully you've got some value from this. And as a newbie vlogger, online vlogger, apparently. I'm going to misspeak a lot of things. I'm going to explain things perhaps incorrectly, but at the same time, it's still thought building, right? You're gaining information from my experience, and I hope that you guys have learned from that. And I'm going to try to, I noticed that this vlog is a little more monotone than my other vlogs when I'm in my car and I'm just speaking freely. It's because I want to make this entertaining but informative. At the end of the day, I want it informative and filled with content. And a lot of times I do get in that robotic mode where I'm just logical. Let's find patterns. Let's try to win this game. And that's how it is sometimes. But anyways. I will shoot another session. I think I've recorded a couple sit and go sessions. I might be able to move on here and play some cash games just to see if you guys can see a little bit of difference there. And as you gain more experience between sit and goes and cash games, there are definitely distinct differences in how you should play basically the same hands, but it's a different game, so therefore it's a different strategy sometimes. So, well, it is now 10:25, and early bird me says I gotta get ready to go to bed because gym day, 4 a.m. in the morning, even on Sunday. Alright, talk to you guys soon.